Lovely to see you. And this is
Here.
this is the first time you and I have spoken like this or met like this.
Yeah, it's so wonderful to meet you in person. Well, almost in
Oh,
person.
thank you, and likewise.
Oh, it's amazing. I mean, I thought I'd done a lot of work on myself before I have actually, but that's taken me deeper in a way that I like to go, like through the art and symbolism and
Yeah,
all that.
yeah, wonderful. Oh, I'm so glad. I'm so glad to hear that. Thank you. So we've got a bit of time together. We'll maybe spend half an hour or 45 minutes, just see how this goes. And, I would like to make space for you to share and just talk and just see what comes up. And
Right.
is that okay with you?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay. And so if I step back a bit and just leave you some space, do you know where you would begin or would you like some help?
Well, before we did the recording, we were talking about the iceberg of emotions. I had described it like originally it was like this time, probably bigger than the one that took down the Titanic, it feels like.
Wow.
And now it's down it's just a little bit above the level of the water in the
Okay.
ocean. But
Yeah.
there's still that big
Yeah, the
fat
great
bit
big bit
underneath.
underneath the water. Yeah. So just a
Yeah.
teeny weeny little bit peeping out of the top. And then there's
Right.
the surface of the water. And then you've got the big, big, big. It sounds like it spreads. It's quite big underneath the water. Is that right?
Yeah.
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 So and
Scary.
so you're really interested in this idea about the iceberg.
I want it to melt, go away. And
Ah,
hitting it with the Titanic or knocking the boat over, any of that,
yeah.
doesn't help. But what I don't know about emotions, because I lately, the last week, I've been able to do some, when I was facing, one day I couldn't even do my writing. I'd gone out for a walk, a long walk, which a
Mm,
long 2 block walk. Where I was down at my son's, I was explaining, and I made myself go out on a long walk down to the little local supermarket, which is 2 blocks away. It sounds like not very long, but for me, that's a big walk
yeah.
because it takes so long, and I had to actually use the that walker thing
Yes.
that I only use for outside with on uneven pavement. And I got back, and halfway back, I froze. It was like I couldn't go anymore. So I sat down on the walker under a tree until I know when to let my body calm down and tell me when it's good to go on. And I went on, and I got close to the house and could hear the dogs. We were dog sitting, barking, greeting me even before they saw me. And I got in, and then I was going to do my writing in the afternoon, and I couldn't do it. I just couldn't.
Yeah.
So I was facing that, the emotion of that. And what it is like coming on here today, it's hard for me. It's not the writing itself, because once I get into it, I'm enjoying it.
Yeah. You love
But
writing.
it's putting myself out in front of people, even to, I mean, this is a suburban neighborhood that his friends, we were dog sitting, lives in.
Mm,
So there wasn't anyone around, maybe a van going by or something once in a
yeah.
while.
Really quiet.
Uh, but for me to put myself out there, or to be on camera like this,
Hmm.
or to put my book out there, because it scares me.
Yeah. And the book is the book that you're writing.
Yeah.
You're feeling really anxious about the book getting out there, being
Well,
out there.
yeah, I'm anxious about it getting out there, and yet there's a slight deadline because it's about a real life person who she was an aristocrat in England, and went to live in the Wild West, basically. I call it from living indoor toilets to outdoor privies, reverse Cinderella. And it's the 100th anniversary of her arriving in New Mexico.
Wow.
So I feel like
Yeah.
under pressure to get the
Yeah.
book done.
To get it done for this year. This is the 100th year. Wow.
Yeah.
So,
I mean,
Mhm.
on the other hand, I know that these things have their own timing, just like little children growing up.
Of course,
You
we
can't say
force
you've
it.
got to walk at 9 months. You have to wait
No,
till they're ready, or whatever.
absolutely. Yeah. But there is that pressure of needing to get this done, get this out there. And there was something about you were kind of in outside of your comfort zone, walking quite a big walk to a local supermarket. And then on your way back, it just felt like it was just too much, and you had to take a break.
Yeah.
And then when you got back in, you couldn't write. You couldn't write.
No.
And today with this recording,
Right.
mm,
And I don't know, I mean, getting back,
mhm.
and it's like I freeze up, like the ice, I freeze up. And it's like I don't know how much of that is my now self, you know, facing all this, and how much is it the stored PTSD? Because what did happen that afternoon, even though I couldn't write, I let out this big dry sob, which is the first time I've done it, but I can't cry yet still. I
Right.
mean, I can weep if I see something sad on a show, or whatever, but or even happy things, like I told you, my son and I did a little uh, trip into San Francisco and went to some favorite places, and I cried in happiness. And actually, when I was in that favorite bookshop, not to name drop, it was one of Robin Williams' favorite bookshops too.
Oh,
I never
wow.
saw him there, but it's one of those kind of places.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, I could walk straight and easily when I was in the bookshop. All of a
You were
sudden,
so at
I
peace there. Were you so at peace there? It was such a wonderful place to be in that shop, surrounded by all those books. You were really happy and content.
yeah,
And it sounds like
and
your defenses would have relaxed.
yeah, and even though there were other people there, they weren't interested in anybody. They were just interested in the books, like me.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
my son even was happy in there. He always likes to go, and I told you he likes transport things, so he always likes to go to the transport section,
Yeah,
look
yeah,
for
that kept him
trains and
happy.
buses.
Yeah. So there you were, at ease, really peaceful and at ease, enjoying this bookstore
Yeah,
and not bothered about people looking at you, or no, everybody else was quite happy doing their own thing in the bookstore, as were you. And it sounds like you were really at peace and at ease there.
yeah,
And and that feels very different to, like, for example, the apprehension of your book coming out and the pressure of it, wanting it out this on this 100th year. And the filming of this today, for example, the pressure, the stress of being seen seems
yeah. I don't like to be
overwhelming.
seen.
You don't
Yeah, I
like to
don't
be
like.
seen. Yeah.
I like I said before, I don't know how actors do it.
No, I couldn't do it. I definitely couldn't do that. So, no. But the iceberg, you've got this just a tip of the iceberg coming out of the surface of the water, and lots underneath. And you talk about being really icy cold and frozen, like immobile. And kind of is there a question, like you're wondering about what this might mean, or
Well, I don't know how much of it is PTSD, from the childhood abuse stuff, uh, and the marriage, and then how much is just the conditioning that we talk about a lot in
yeah,
Goddess
yeah,
Unleash. I
yeah,
mean, because there is, and I know myself that if I'm in a an emergency situation, I don't fight or flight. I freeze. If it's, if it's somebody coming at me, if it's a real emergency, like we had those bad fires here a few years ago, I can act. I do really well, like I used to do.
You go into flight and move.
And then I if it's a real emergency like that, I'll do what I need to do in the moment with myself or other people. And then later I feel it.
Yeah. So you can act in the moment and deal with the issue that in that kind of sense, where you're helping others and where you're getting away from danger.
Well, we were told to evacuate here.
No wonder.
And so my trauma in that was it is my I have a niece who lives in the town over, but she couldn't get in because they had blocked the roads to have them able for the firefighters and the police. And so, for some reason, my daughter was in Italy or France. I can't remember. She works for a travel company. And my son was down in LA with his friends. So I didn't have anyone to call on. So I literally had to go down in the parking lot and beg for a ride, which is unlike me to ask like that, but it was that important.
Yeah, you had to get out.
And so I got it. The second or third person I asked let me in their car with my baggage. And all the time I was helping and supporting the other people in the car. There was one frail older lady, she was in her 90s, I think, and another one who was just she couldn't
get focused.
Yeah. And so we got down to the Red Cross place a few hundred miles, and then I had to wait I was by 13 hours by the time my son got back up from LA to pick me up.
Oh my goodness, what a horrendous experience. Terrifying.
Yeah.
And having to plead to get in a car initially to get away, and having to really ask for help, which doesn't come easily to you.
No way.
No.
It's one of those things that, like I said, you do what you have to do in the moment. And I'm proud that I was able to do that. I could have, thankfully the fire didn't get over here this far. That was when that whole big section of Santa Rosa burned down. It came within a half a block of my niece's house. Actually, her house didn't burn, but she got out because she went up to my sister's.
Yeah. How are you doing? Just check in with your body, because you've mentioned post-traumatic stress, and you and I have spoken about some of childhood experiences that you've had. And I'm just wondering, given you're speaking about a very traumatic situation with the fires and trying to get away and get help and get out and be there for others, and then it sounds like you've become very depleted afterwards. But I'm just wondering how your body is right now.
It's tense, and I'm trying to keep it from the camera, but my hands are very nervous.
Okay, so feeling quite agitated. Yeah, and that's very understandable given what you're talking about, because when we talk about events like this, we relive them. It's almost like being back in it, and our body is reacting as if we are back in it.
Right. I do have my name on some housing closer down to my son's. Because of all the baby boomers, it's taking it might be another year or two before I get down there. But I love it up here because of all the trees. It's beautiful here. Literally, there's redwood, oak, maples, pine, all trees all around.
Yeah.
But it doesn't feel safe. There were 2 fires here, never mind the fire that totally took down the whole town where my parents used to live. Good
grief. So you don't feel safe in that sense. It's so beautiful, but you don't feel safe.
No, and it's funny because it's a small town. I like small towns now.
Yeah.
Even though I loved London when I was there. and it's an arty town, but there's something about it where the people, and I found this when I moved back to California from London after 12 years. I had 7 years reverse cultural shock. It was
A
that
big
bad.
change. You came back to somewhere where you didn't recognize.
And people weren't, I mean, they talk about English people being, you know, very inward, but once you get to know people, or I got to know people there, they were friends for life. Whereas here people act all friendly on the surface, but they're not.
Not
And
really.
there's a lot of, you know, it's hot and cold, and here, living in this, I live in this affordable senior complex, and it feels like I'm back in high school where you know, there's these cliques and people,
Yeah.
who's who and who's popular.
Yeah. So you don't know where you stand. Somebody might be friendly one day, but then they might not be friendly the next day. You don't know where
Well,
you stand with people.
plus they're all very old. They're all old and they act old, and I don't want to. I know I'm old, but I don't want to act old. If that makes sense. You know,
Yeah.
I like being around children and younger people, to be
Yeah.
honest.
Yeah. This is where you feel very comfortable and at ease, and around those two lovely dogs that you were just taking care of.
Right. It's comical. They were comical.
Yeah. So
Animals are comical.
they are
That's what I
funny.
love about
They are
just
funny.
even watching the squirrels. They're just so funny.
They are. They are. And you're really at ease around children, and I know your background was in education with the much younger children.
Very young. Yeah.
Yeah.
Preschool through
Yeah.
like second year of infants, second, third year of infants. Once I taught fifth grade, which would be like lower juniors, but uh I loved them intellectually. They were fun, but I that's when they start learning to hurt each other, and I didn't like that with
No,
them.
you struggled with that bit. Yeah. And I think about how the children, when they go to school, they sort of take their world with them, their home, rather, sorry, their home life into the school place and start acting it out. Yeah.
Well, and sometimes, and that year too, because it was my first year in New Mexico, and so the teachers gave me, being the new kid on the block, they gave me all of the, in New Mexico, they have a law to combine um, children with learning and difficulty problems in with the main class. They don't
Yeah.
separate them out.
Yeah.
So they gave me all the worst kids.
So,
You know, like the one little boy who was, you know, lived in a trailer park, and he had ADHD really bad, and his mother wouldn't let him, because of religion, wouldn't let him be on medication. I mean, and another little boy who'd been sexually abused by both his parents.
you saw a lot. You saw a lot. And it sounds like when you turned up at this school for the first time, you were given a real handful to deal with.
I love living with other cultures. That's what I loved about
Yeah.
living in London. All these different
Yeah.
cultures living together.
Just check in again. Where are you? How are you doing? And how's this going for you?
A little better. I'm glad. I don't know why. I'm glad I'm talking about it.
But
So
it's
I'm
helping somehow to be talking.
yeah, the lower part of my body is a little more relaxed.
Okay, brilliant.
It's the upper part that's still tense.
So can you feel a lot of tension in your neck and your shoulders?
Yes. And
Um,
my throat is, I even have a slight sore throat, which isn't a real sore throat. It has more to do with uh, being afraid to speak out. I mean,
yeah, you know
I
this.
don't
You can sense this.
I don't know if I said this in Goddess Unleashed, but when I was about 12, 13, but I know we had a headmaster anyway. They called my parents in and said, we're worried about, they called me Judy then. They were worried about Judy because she never talks. And that was true. I didn't, talk.
It was really hard for you to talk. And
And
that
then
about being seen, Judith, sorry to butt in over you there. You were talking earlier about how difficult it is for you to be seen. And it sounds like it might be really difficult also for you to be heard, like to
oh yeah,
express yourself rather. Yeah,
right. Oh yeah, yeah.
yeah. And you
That's
do
why
need to hear.
writing and art are so easy.
Yeah,
Talking with other people, unless I really know them well.
yes.
And of course, my parents, they didn't know better back in those days. They frankly, they were afraid of things like therapy and stuff, because I had a younger brother who was having trouble with his grades in school. When the school suggested that he do therapy, my parents wouldn't have anything, my mother especially.
They wouldn't allow it.
Uh-uh. And so their way of dealing with me is to tell me to talk more. You know, I
Yeah,
was commanded to talk more.
yeah. And did you talk more?
Well, at home, I think it was okay. I stayed out of her way as much as possible. But um, as a kid, you have to say certain things in order to survive. At school, not as much, but I made myself do things like, and this was really scary, run for student council at one point. Fortunately, I got in because no one ran against me. And then I got embarrassed because I was always teased about getting good grades at school. And then of course by the second year in high school, I my grades started to go by the side because I started feeling so self-conscious about it all. I mean, I still had enough to get into university, but
You were having to be so brave and do what you were being told to do and speak out and go against how you really felt, which was to be very quiet and, express through art, express through writing. But you were commanded, you will speak more. And then um, what was it you ran for and got? What I missed that bit.
it's student council,
Student
it's like,
council, yeah.
yeah.
And
And
you
I
got
ran for
in.
something really dumb like financial manager, which meant I had to count the coins in the Coke machine. That's all I had to do. But
It was a big step though for you in school to be doing this. And then when you did that, so you did do that, but then something else went because of it, because you got picked on. The kids at school picked
yeah,
on
my
you,
my
and your
grades went
grades
down.
went down.
And at one point I got eczema so bad it was out all over my face.
The stress,
And
it feels like the stress was so intense.
yeah, and of course then being in high school and you think, never mind all the popular girls, but the guys, and you feel really embarrassed. I remember one time my chemistry teacher said something about, you know, I think he was being kind, but he was reminding me not to try to scratch it because
Yeah,
eczema hurts really bad.
yeah, yeah. So he was saying, don't scratch it.
Yeah, he was trying to be helpful.
Yeah, there you were, putting yourself out there because you'd been told to, but then your grades start to suffer because you're being teased about getting such good grades. It's like you can't win. Whatever you do,
Yeah,
this is really difficult.
yeah.
How are you doing right now? How's your body? How's your neck?
It's okay. I'm wanting to scratch this little patch of eczema on my arm, but I'm not. I'm just twirling my hands around it. And then, the neck thing is still tense.
Is
But
it it's quite tight, is it? Is it quite tight?
yeah, it is.
Yeah. Yeah, left's worse than the right, is it?
Always, yeah. My whole left
Always.
side is always worse than my right side.
Are you left-handed or right-handed?
Right. Right-handed.
Right-handed. And how's your throat? Because you said earlier about this feeling of a sore throat, but it was more stress related than a sore
Yeah,
throat.
it's it's better. It's a little bit scratchy, but that's because I'm talking more than I usually talk. So,
Yeah. Yeah. And you're talking to someone that, although we kind of know each other through the Goddess program, we've never spoken in this way, and you're being seen on cam, and we're recording it too,
yeah.
which is I'm imagining double the stress.
Well, fortunately, I'm not paying attention to that part right now. So,
Oh dear, and I keep reminding you.
it's okay. No.
Sorry about that.
No, it's okay. It's funny because if I'm teaching or I have something to present, like my first book, that there were 3 authors that wrote a book, and I get a little stage fright doing book readings and stuff, but I can do that kind of thing. It's just when it's me, because there I was presenting the book, not me.
Yeah, it
Here
was more about the book in a kind of way rather than you. But this is about you. I'm wondering, where are we for time? We've still got a bit of time. How are you doing? Should we do more? Are you happy to go further, or do you want to call it a day, or what would you like? Because I'm remembering about the iceberg, and I'm also
Yeah,
thinking about the tightness and tension that you've got going on in your shoulders.
yeah. I mean, it's almost like this is the part of the iceberg that's still showing. If you want to say my body is the
Okay,
iceberg.
yeah. So from your sort of throat up is the bit that's out of the water,
Yeah,
and
or
from
even
here
just up
down.
to here. Like
Okay.
this part's clear. Like, yeah, if
How are your sinuses doing? Because they were
they're
tight, weren't
they're still tight, and it'll take me rest. I'll need rest, which,
they?
this afternoon I want to work on my writing, but I might need to just have even a long nap, to be
Okay,
honest.
yeah. And maybe this will have taken it out of you to be seen in this way and to be heard in this way.
I'll see. I mean, it could be sometimes when I get this nervous, I need to go out on a little walk just to kind of
Mhm.
shake it off.
Yeah, use the adrenaline. Yeah,
Yeah,
which is a great thing to do.
yeah. But then I'll come back and, read and maybe have a nap, in the
Okay,
afternoon.
good, good. Sounds like you know how to take care of yourself really well.
I'm getting there. I'm a lot better than I used to be, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, good, good. So pleased to hear it. So what should we do, Judith? Do you want to keep going for a bit? Do you want to stop? What what do you want?
Yes, I actually I'm not sure. I mean, part of me, the way I took care of myself as a kid, I was the oldest of 6 children, and then there were 2 brothers, and then the twins, and then the baby sister. So most of my life, I had a room of my own, and I could go, if things got too much, I'd just go in my room and read or play with my dolls or
Yeah,
something when I was
to
little.
be
And then,
quiet.
or when we moved out into the country more, I would just go out for walks. I mean, and I never worried about things like the rattlesnakes or anything.
You
I
you were
could have,
really comfy and at ease out there.
I I am, and we had a mongrel dog. He must have been a terrier mix. Dad, I forgot where Dad got him. He just picked him up. He was already grown up, but Junior would go along. And one time, we were walking along, and Junior was over here, and all of a sudden he stopped, just like that. He stopped, and I go, "What's wrong, Junior?" And I looked over, and there was a rattlesnake like about 2 feet away. And I go,
Oh,
"Okay," and we walked on. So
oh,
he
he was
protected me
showing you
just like,
what to do. He knew to freeze in that moment, didn't he? Yeah.
yeah.
But you got away, you walked off, and everything was okay.
Yeah, and it was probably it. I don't know. I mean, rattlesnakes don't really bother people unless you get too close or it's their molting season, and
Okay,
they can't. They're blind then and can't see.
right.
So, I mean, when you live in the country, you learn that these things are mostly harmless.
Yeah,
They're just doing their thing,
they are. They are.
and nature has always been good to me. I mean, even the other thing I lived through, the big traumatic thing, was the big '89 earthquake here. I was teaching down in the East Bay. The East Bay is the part across the water from San Francisco, and all of a sudden it was after school, and all of a sudden the lights the light started swaying. I told all the children, get under the desk, and they did. And I realized later, silly me, I hadn't gotten under the desk, but it wasn't until 2 days later I realized I was more worried about the children and
Yeah.
my own children. My daughter was home from school already, and my son was on a field trip with his class. And
You're
that
so
was
busy
before
looking
cell
after
phones.
everyone
So,
else.
yeah,
So busy
they were
looking
both,
after them.
yeah. But the worst part was that there was one dad who came in to pick up his daughter, and he was like literally white as the literal white as a ghost kind of cliche.
Yeah.
And he had been 2 cars ahead of the bridge collapsing.
Oh my goodness.
He just scooped up his little girl. I'll
Yeah.
never forget that.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but
You've seen a lot. You've witnessed a lot. You've experienced such a lot in your lifetime.
right.
You really have.
But but you worry about things like when there were, when I lived in London, there was all the IRA bombings. Remember those?
I do remember. Yeah.
We weren't. I
Yeah.
wasn't directly active, but there they were.
That it was there. So I want to keep checking in with you to find out how you're doing and what you would like to do, because I get a sense you do want to be talking, but at the same time, um, I know that you could become really tired and drained by this later.
Well, I will be, and I already am tired and drained to
I
begin with.
mean,
So that doesn't bother me. I just have to make sure I don't push myself to do things. I don't have any
yeah,
big chores to do, but even if I have to put off my writing another day. The other thing that kind of made me sad last week after having that lovely time with my son and in San Francisco, and uh, you know, like Jackie, I had studied Julia Cameron's books. I did The Artist's Way 12 times in a row.
wow,
It was so
wow,
important.
yeah, yeah,
And for me to go out on those artist dates like that day in San Francisco and to not be able to do it here because it's hard for me to get on the bus and go down to town and walk around and then wait again for the bus with all the fumes in my face, even if I dare to put on a mask and stuff. I just that's the part of me that fills me up, and I don't know quite how. I haven't figured. I like what Jackie said about doing it maybe even once a month so I don't tire
yes,
myself out too
yeah.
much.
And does that feel doable?
I'm not sure yet. I don't know. Some, like that walk that I did down in Concord. Concord's where my son lives.
Right.
Um, it, I get scared and hard, even if I do stop in the cafe and sit and write and have a coffee or something,
Mm-hmm.
which I love. That used to be my artist dates when uh, when the children were growing up, especially after the divorce and they were at their dad's on a weekend. There was a little cafe nearby that I could walk to, and it was called the Junket, and just sitting. And I didn't have to hear anyone's conversations because it was run by these German people. So everyone in there was speaking German. So there I was. I could just,
Zone out and have peace.
yeah.
Wonderful. Yeah,
And I don't know how to get that back. I
yeah,
mean, I can try. I can put on like a cafe scene on the TV, and those little videos of sitting in a cafe or something,
yeah.
but it's not the same.
No, it's not the same. To actually go there and be there and smell the coffee and sit in the seating and just experience being there, it's a real loss. You're missing out on this. I can feel the loss for you.
Thank you. I hadn't thought of the word loss before, but it is a loss.
It is a loss, yeah. It
And that,
is.
and also not being able to get to museums and stuff. I have a neighbor who sometimes will we'll go to one of the local art stores, or once in a while she'll take me out at the beach. But I like to go to those places by myself, and I just don't know how to get there
Yeah, you would like to be
without
really
a
independent.
lot of travel kerfuffle. Like if I wanted to go down to one of the big museums in San Francisco, I mean, it's buses and trains and more buses. And
That's a lot of effort. That, that just sounds like a lot of effort to have to put in, especially if when you go out and you feel quite self-conscious about people seeing you, and then that drained feeling, that kind of exhausted feeling later. And you mentioned having fatigue, you would experience fatigue in your body.
yeah. And I get fatigue with excitement as much as with worry. It's funny.
Yeah.
I don't.
Your body's really letting you know things. I think your body is really speaking out for you at these times.
Oh yeah.
Like it's saying,
Yeah.
well, what do you think it might be saying? Can you put some words to it? Like if it's been a long, hard day of travel, the fatigue
It
comes.
just says, just sit down and put on a dumb show on TV or something. Or, sometimes I can't even pick up my knitting. I get so tired, which is one of the ways to relax,
Yeah,
myself.
yeah, yeah.
I had, just for fun, this is really cuckoo. You're gonna laugh, but for fun and for my inner little girl, I've been knitting little
Oh, oh,
little
oh, that's
little mini
beautiful.
little miniature
Oh my goodness. The
jumpers.
detail and the hat.
Yeah,
It's
I love doing little
beautiful.
miniature things.
Yes, that's right. You mentioned this. I saw that
Yeah.
image of the miniatures. You shared
Right, and
that.
I just for
Oh,
my
that's
friend,
lovely.
I'm just doing this heart,
Oh,
a
that's
miniature heart.
lovely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
You really enjoy making miniature things.
and living in a small flat, I have to even paint small too. I
Right.
can't. The biggest I paint is in my Goddess Unleashed journal thing.
Yeah. So, yeah. So you feel very limited in many ways.
I do.
I'm just thinking about your body. I hope this is okay, Judith. So I'm going to say something and it may not resonate for you. So you can let me know if I'm barking up the wrong tree. But I'm just getting a feeling of you kind of being restrained in many ways. You can't go out, you can't go on these lovely artist dates that you would love to go on. Your body feels a lot of fatigue and tightness. You can't paint big because you're in a small apartment now. Everything, and yeah, and knitting small, making small miniature things.
I
Everything
mean,
feels
I
limited.
am making big things too. I'm
Oh,
For
good.
that same friend. It's her birthday. It's the mother of my little heart grandchild,
Oh,
Marcella.
yes.
So I'm making boot warmers for her.
Oh,
Uh,
lovely. They're
you know, to
beautiful.
to put at the top of her boots, in the winter,
Yes.
because
Oh,
it
love the
because
colors.
where we lived in New Mexico, it's 7,000 feet up, so it gets very cold in winter.
Good grief. Goodness me.
I don't miss shoveling the snow, but it was beautiful.
Oh,
It really
good
was.
grief. Yeah, yeah. So you can do some big things as well, but you do feel
I
very, very
can if I have
limited.
the space. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, I hadn't thought about all this. I mean, I do feel restricted and confined, and partly it's being older and not having my car anymore. I mean, I could still drive. I have my license, but I haven't driven now in 5 years. But I don't like all this restriction, and
No,
again,
I hear that.
that's how I felt. I guess that's how I felt when I was a kid too. No,
Restricted, restricted. Yeah. Yeah, I'm remembering some of the things you have shared. So yeah, yeah, absolutely. Very. And taking yourself away to your own bedroom and sort of hiding away peacefully though. It got you some peace. Hmm.
right. Well, especially from all, not just from mother, but from all the younger brothers.
Yeah,
I used to
lots of
call them the
children.
brats in those days, but yeah, I mean, I love them to bits. I mean,
I get that. And
but
you had to do a lot of looking after, didn't you?
and to this day, especially the twins and Sean, the twins are a boy and a girl. The Deb and Sean both they both say I was their mother, their real mother.
Yeah, yep. That is a huge responsibility for a child to have as a parent figure to our younger siblings.
But yeah, I was the one that gave them the hugs and love and sang to them every night and told them story, read them books, and
Yeah.
all that.
Judith, I'm wondering about, what did you get some hugs and love?
No, only maybe when I was a toddler from my grandmothers.
Yep.
Um,
But the hugs, the cuddles, they didn't come.
oh
No,
no. In
no.
fact, I was shocked. I remember when my niece was born, I was, I forgot. Anyway, I was at my mom's house, and I was actually shocked to see mom holding Amanda. I never saw my mom hold any of the younger brothers and sisters except to carry them over to change their nappy or something.
Yeah, yeah.
Dad was the one
First
who hugged
time.
us a little bit, but
But you'd never seen mum do that before.
not to just sit and hold her. No,
No,
not to sit and hold them.
no.
To,
And not for you either. They didn't do this for you.
I don't remember, but probably not as much,
Yeah,
especially since she and dad were having fights and separating and coming back together. All that stuff is a lot. I spent a lot of time at my grandmother's house.
yeah. There was a lot going on. A lot of stress. A lot of stress. Yeah, I hear that. So, I'm just aware of the time. It's about
Yeah.
6:15.
Yeah, no, we could
Yeah,
quit
sorry, I
now.
don't know what time it is for you actually.
Oh, it's 10:15 in the morning. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. And
Yeah, I need to think a lot about that all this is lost. I know about the restriction, but to think of the loss of especially the artist state and
yeah,
what I can do about it.
yeah, it's a very big loss. And there's something I wanted to say, and it's still hanging around. So I'm wondering, it's not homework, of course, but it's a kind of thing that you could do in your journal if you wanted to.
Right.
And it's to do with the iceberg stuff where we began a little, some time back. We were talking about
Yeah.
the iceberg and this little bit that's poking out above the water. And it seems to be this part of it's
Yeah.
further.
Like
What's
from here, here's the water, maybe here, and then
water's here?
so it starts, the part that's poking out is like from my chin down to where the water is.
Okay.
So that whole throat area.
So the tip of the iceberg is your chin.
Yeah,
Is that right?
chin down.
And then the water's about here. Don't know what you can see of me because I've turned my self
Yeah.
view off. So about here. And then
Yeah.
from here down, everything's under the water and it kind of spreads. It's big. There's a lot. Is,
Right.
is that right?
Well, and
A lot of
right, and
iceberg.
that's where my overweight is, all down, in my whole middle body and thighs.
Okay. So what I was thinking was only if you want to, and then you and I can check in Goddess Unleashed on this if you would like, is to
Right.
is to use your art materials to create this iceberg and put the water level, put the bit that's showing, the bit that's underneath, try and notice the size of that underneath, under the water, and sort of depict that somehow with your art materials. And you might like
Yeah.
to put some writing, or I don't want to tell you what to do because I really don't want to direct you off track from what might innately or intuitively rather come out of you. But if you
Gotcha. Yeah.
feel like, if you feel like writing words or using color under the water and above the water to depict all of this iceberg, and then between you and I, if you want to, we can talk about that in the group and do some
I'd
work
like to
on
do
that.
that. Yeah. I've been having an urge to get back to to the journal. So yeah, I'd
Okay,
like to
if
do
you would
that.
like to do that, yeah. And I'd really like to see whatever it is you do and hear what goes on for you as you create that.
Okay.
And then we'll, we can unpick some of that together. And it sounds like it's very, very almost like a parallel to your body. I mean, you've even talked about this part, the water, this part sticking out of the water, and you've got this feeling of restriction and tension. And then you've also, it sounds like you've got a lot of fatigue that comes. It comes and it goes.
Yeah, I have to be careful. Yeah, if I overeat the wrong things, like too many sugars, like I kind of did when I was at my son's, because I like to bake and things, and just overdo it, either
Or
with
being
excitement or
seen.
anxiety.
Yeah,
And being
stress
seen.
situations. So being seen, being heard, this kind of thing today, going for that 2 block walk and having to take that rest, and then, feeling that fatigue later. So it's almost like a parallel. It may not be for you, but that's the way I'm seeing it. I hope that's okay.
No, it's accurate. That's accurate. Thank you. Yeah.
All right, okay, good. And then, we can do that in the group together if you would like
Yeah.
to. And there's no pressure. You don't even have to do this.
Oh
But
no, that's a lovely group. Everybody's so supportive of one another. I've never heard one harsh word. It's everyone's very loving
yeah,
and
yeah,
concerned.
yeah, it is a very supportive group. And so you and I can meet in there with the iceberg discussion if you would like that.
Okay.
Yeah. And
That
I'm
sounds
just
funny.
and I'm just thinking about you taking care of yourself when we say goodbye today. That, I'm aware that you've got this sinus thing going on and you feel quite tight and stressed in your neck and shoulders, and that
Yeah.
you might be exhausted afterwards. So, having been seen and heard here, I'm wondering about you really, really taking care of yourself when we say goodbye.
I will. I'll probably take a walk at least down to the mailboxes and back and see if there's any new wild mushrooms grown up, and then come back and just read for a while.
Okay, good, good.
Yeah.
And
Shake that anxiety out by a little walk.
yeah, if you get that kind of agitation or shakiness, it's actually a really good sign. It's not pleasant, I know this, but it is a good sign that, trauma's coming out, or adrenaline's being moved inside of you, possibly moving out, or it's definitely on the move. You can feel it through the agitation. And to allow that to happen, just allow its time to do what it needs to do.
Oh, that's good to know, because I always worry that it's more adrenaline building up rather than breathing.
Ah, it's, to me, like trembling. Some people will get chattery teeth or
Right,
goosebumps,
right.
or a trembling that we can feel, but others may not easily see. But it feels like we're really trembly or shaky. It's a really good sign, and something's on the move and starting to possibly work its way out of you rather than
Oh,
being
good.
trapped inside.
Oh, good. Yeah, because I
So
was worried
let
it
it
was the
go.
opposite.
Right. So just to allow it. It's like when you see someone in shock after, say, I don't know, almost hitting somebody on the road, and you get
Right,
a bit of
right,
a shock, and then people will shake and their teeth will chatter.
right.
But if we can allow that trauma to come out and shake, let the shakiness shake, let the trembling tremble, just let it
Oh,
happen,
good.
because the body's working its way back to a nice steady state.
Good.
So how are you doing?
Really good. Thank you. I'm glad we did this today.
Okay, great. I'm so glad. And it's really important that we didn't push things and force anything, and we just took it as it came, and decided,
Yeah,
should we put the record button on, or should we leave it? And we just went with the flow.
right.
Yeah.
No, that was good. Thank you. And like I said, I hope it helps somebody else.
When we share, it really does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you for your time. It's been really lovely to actually see you and meet like this with you. Thank you.
Well, same here. Yeah. Very much so for me too.
Oh, and so if I turn off the button, if I turn off the record, and then you and I can have a quick goodbye before we end the Zoom.
Okay.